Hey, this is Mills505, Mills from America, whatever you want to call me. We are on our tutorial playlist series. So we're kind of jumping around back and forth. So the most recent upload in this playlist was about how to take all parts of your 505 and kind of think about the volume inputs and volume outputs and how to avoid what's called tinnitus. Okay. So I basically, in this playlist, I'm taking different parts of the 505 and trying to break them up into certain parts and how to, perceive things better, do things better, protect yourself, whatever. So basically, once we turn the camera around, we're going to do a quick review of the beginnings, and then we're going to move to the advanced parts. And I have to shout out a few people for this advanced part. One of them, and this is in no particular order, is PSN from Brazil. He made it very popular. I did do some things to make it popular before he did, but that's not what this is about here. I'm gonna show some of my techniques. I'm gonna show some of his techniques. I did contact him on this before I decided to do this project, so he is okay with this. Okay. I really can't wait to show it to you. This is gonna be really fun. This is gonna be really fun. Okay, let's go. So let me basically catch you up with what we did in part one. In part one, we told you how there is no vinyl flick on the I effects, it's only on the T effects. And most people, when they do their memory, they go over here and their track effects multi. That's where most people do it, and they know that it's on A. And similarly, on single, you could put it vinyl on anything, right? Well, in the beginning we said most people just do it on multi, and then for their A, usually be up, this would be right here. You go all the way there to the right, and that's where it'd be vinyl, right? And we talked about how there were different, basically went from you could use this right knob does the 100 all the way to 0. We talked about how 100 basically keeps it in motion. So if you're doing okay, see, there's no change, right? And we said how if you were to move that to around 50, 60, like 40 to 60, it'd be we used to call it dead zone, right? Now it's like nothing. There's nothing. And we also said in part one how pretty much anywhere between that 100 and that, maybe right 65, 70, it just drops it down in pitch and in speed, right? Okay. And then we also talked about how if you go past the no man's land, you have it kind of like what Sorrow did in some other rounds. Right? Okay. Well, in this tutorial, we're going to talk about how you can create different types of effects, where you can do things kind of more advanced. So, and that was just a hi-hat. On this, for our demonstration purposes, we're going to use a lot of granular delay, and we're going to use a lot of flanger. And this is my Italia, so this one's not going to have the flanger demonstration. It's going to have the granular delay demonstration. Also, shout out to PSN with a lot of his granular delay stuff. I'm gonna basically demonstrate that in a different track. But we're gonna start off with the one that I kind of made it not famous, but just so people knew that you could do it. Basically, in a nutshell, let me show you what I mean here. In a nutshell, you have this. All right, cool, right? Cute. Well, if you go, I demonstrated if you do, and of course in my loop routines I try to do line out just okay. Right? And what 91 isn't that far away from 100, and I showed in my routine You can change it to an entirely different groove. So if you're going to do things advanced and change the groove, I'd highly recommend turning your metronome from on to off, right? Right? Well, it involves a lot of timing and stuff. So do you see how I changed it from an Italian tarantale? All of that gets changed by literally just pressing one vinyl button. All right, so that's one idea. Now here's another thing where it gets more atmospheric and you can change a groove even more. And this is what I did. I premiered this in March of 2020. So listen. And by the way, if you're going to do something, the more you vinyl it down, you want to make you might want to be prepared to either have a reverb on C or an EQ. PSN usually puts like a pan or something on B or C. It's up to you. And why do I say that? Because if you're getting lower, it's kind of like the same predicament you have. Like if you'd normally use a transpose or a pitch bend up or down, then you'd usually be using a TFXB EQ. You can boost some lows or you can kind of like boost some highs or whatever, right? And sometimes reverb. You're going to see what I mean. And of course, as I always say, make sure that whatever you're doing here, especially with TFX, make sure that you're paying attention to which are your things that you're actually TFXing. Every now and then, when you're not playing it, when you're not recording, you're making sure which of these edits you're TFXing. So making sure we got what we want. And this is approximate. Some people might get really specific and where they want 72 instead of 70, whatever. But anyway, check this out. And of course, that's something else. If you have like a really big reverb or delay, whatever, you can always just go that. Make sure that you turn it back off and on. So what exactly did I do here? I took a simple hi-hat and I made it sound by simply going from either from this memory down that way or from the knob down that way. I made a hi-hat go into like the waves of an ocean. Now you could do that, but wouldn't reverb make it that much more magical? And while we're at it, did I not take that and turn that into like a vibraphone? course, you can sing on top of this and do whatever you want, right? So it's up to you. I mean, you don't have to do it this way. This is just my kind of classical approach to it, right? Okay, so that's my way of doing things kind of advanced like that, right? Another thing you could do, which I don't think this would fit stylistically, but you could if you wanted, would be to do this. You could do that. But let's just focus on... If you're actually listening closely, did you notice how each of those high-pitched frequencies actually still sounded quite clean? Whereas if you're trying to do that knob trick on a guitar to bass, it's not gonna sound that clean. I don't know. It just sounds good to me. This sounds muddy. To be honest, compared. Okay, so that's just my way of doing it. Okay, all right. So I showed you kind of my way. Now, let me talk about some PSN ways of how he does things. Basically, all right. Okay, so that was basically, I did that with flanger on like A or B, and then I did a reverb on here. So if you want to consider that as like a PSN banjo, so to speak. I don't know. Or maybe that's the banjo. Maybe that's the bass guitar, or like the medium guitar for you. Maybe that's the banjo. All of this was made from just a flanger, a simple, pretty much. Okay. Now, what can Vinyl Flick do for you? Let's see what it can do for you. So as always, we make sure we got this, and we'll just kind of play around with it. So it seems pretty clean so far. Maybe you want to put some extra chorus on there. Maybe you want to delay it a little bit. Another cool thing to, if you didn't notice, is that as soon as you do on reverse, it actually kind of unvinyls what you were already doing. So that's just something else to keep aware of. Now let's try the thing trick. Let's see if that works on this. All right, so as you've been able to hear with this, basically, granular delay and flanger can be used as nice little bell tones, and it can be pretty clean for for pretty much any usage of vinyl flick that you want to use on it. Also, notice how delay is just kind of like a cool extra effect. Now, did you notice here that chorus, TFX chorus, with 0 and pretty much 100 everything else, actually seems to fatten the signal, which makes it sound just kind of more thick, more like an actual guitar. So one last time. Now, some people like to put chorus before the vinyl. All right, so again, like I could do more and more of these, but hopefully you got the point of how. Again, this is, and of course I'm going to write this. This is all just in more examples, so I just call this flanger. This is pretty much my kind of expansion of what PSN did in his RDR routine and some of his other routines. Okay. Hey, so I hope that you really enjoyed this video. I hope that that you're able to, you know, kind of associate things that you've probably seen and heard in the past, and finally find a way to do it yourself. Really be able to slow things down, pun intended, and just try to put your own originality and complexity into it, so that it's still enjoyable, so that it's not just, you know, like one thing that you want to go on a judge sheet and like, oh, check this off because I did something different or original, whatever. Well, no, it's not. It's so that you're still having fun and that you're still able to, you know, just put your own spin on. Okay, so we're gonna keep doing some more tutorials. We will be doing some more 202 plus attorneys. Hopefully, I think season 2 interviews have completed. So yeah, because usually I don't have time for interviews in between summers. If that changes, we'll do it. If that changes, then we'll just stop doing things in seasons and we'll just kind of do like number 52, number 54, kind of like Joe Rogan does with his stuff. All right. Well, I will see you on the next video, whatever that may be.
Don't just do thoughts and prayers.